The following is a Hoop Ball presentation. Welcome to the Fantasy NBA Today podcast.
The old men of Hoop Ball have congregated to... What do? We shout at clouds? We complain about muscle pains?
Is it kibitz?
Yes,
Dan?
nice. Nice Yiddish. That was, my heart. Be still my beating heart, Brew.
I'm trying to learn about religions and stuff, man. So kibitzing. Let's kibitz.
Yeah, let's chat. Let's talk. So I want to I feel like people are going to be like, what the hell are you guys talking about? I don't know if many of you are old enough listeners to remember the SNL skit with Mike Myers dressed as an old, Brooklynite, a lady. I think she was often in a bathtub, if I'm not mistaken. Go back, watch those things. That's basically what I come from. Welcome to Fantasy NBA Today, everybody. I'm Dan Besbris. Aaron Bruski here on Fridays. We must be getting close to the season, huh? You sufficiently stressed out over there?
A little bit. It's always stressful the time of year. There's so much going on. I mean, our, just purely business-wise on the, kind of just dealing with so many people purchasing the draft guide. We have questions, we have inquiries, we have whatever kind of issue of the day. And so on that end alone, I feel like we need a helper monkey to come in and just push buttons on a computer and answer a lot of these questions here. And then as far as the actual beast of being on top of this stuff, preseason's kind of coming to a close. I think we've seen enough of what we need to see, so that's good there. But there'll be a lot of last second announcements every year where rotations, decisions, we got the Jimmy Butler trade thing that's sort of hanging out there. It's going to impact two teams.
That's
Miami
on the list.
And Minnesota, most likely.
That's definitely on the list, my good man. Fear not. We will be talking about that at some point today.
Well, and then for me, I have all my big money drafts coming up, and we have a big Bruski 150 update that'll happen probably Friday night, if I had to guess. A lot of it depends on information flow, what's going to happen between now and then. We had the DeJounte. Every year there's an injury that happens in the preseason that shakes everything. We had the DeJounte Murray injury, and as well as really getting aggressive on picks. Now's the time where we feel like we've seen enough. We've seen the market sort of solidify. People have made their positions known. We can really get aggressive with picks now. So this next update usually is the big one. And I'm excited. We also, at that point in time, released the Hoop Ball 6, which there was a lot of talk in the draft room, or probably the chat, or the forums about that. I had to explain this because this is like dessert. It's at the end of the meal, not at the beginning.
Okay, so wait a minute. That was actually... I'm glad that you put that now on the list. You haven't seen the list, by the way, but the list does include Jimmy Butler, DeJounte Murray, draft day stuff. It didn't have the Hoop Ball 6. That's now on it, and that's basically where I want to start on today's show, now that you brought it up. By the way, you can follow all of us on Twitter, at Dan Besbris, at Aaron Bruski, and, of course, at Hoop Ball Fantasy is the Hoop Ball Fantasy blurb feed. That's a good spot to go this time of year.
Thank all of the hoop ballers out there.
Yes, we can.
I mean, really, this is a pinch me moment for all of us over here. We're growing so fast. I mean, it's, we're having these meetings talking about growth and future plans. We're looking a year, 2 years, 3 years down the road. And you guys literally make it possible. It has nothing to do with us. It's you guys deciding you guys want to be a part of something that's new, cool, different, higher value, bigger picture, looking at, companies in other industries like The Athletic are doing their thing. We're doing our thing. And, people want more out of their content. And I think that's why they've sort of showed up here. The community is great. The forums are popping. The excitement, I'm watching superstars just be sort of built, the Chef,
forum, dude.
Chef, the guys that work with us are just passionate, smart, and they're able to put together content in the way that we all wish that it would be kind of, 5-10 years ago, kind of working with the big box sites and also working, just sort of being a fan. You're just like, why can't it be bigger and better? And why can't we just blow this out? And it's unfortunate that the TV model doesn't work. And, we have 30 contributors here on the fantasy side alone. No other website that I'm aware of, other than The Athletic, which has 572 contributors and counting, has more than like 5. So we got 30 that are really just pouring their heart and soul into it. And then you guys come in and you fire them up, and you guys participate in the forums, you participate in the chats, and you participate on Twitter. And then, it pushes us, it pushes these guys that work with us. And it's just, the energy is so good right now. So it's a thank you. Thank you for the listeners for being a part of this. And thank you guys for, pushing us forward.
Yes, and thank you for those of you that have subscribed and rated and reviewed the podcast. This is the time of year where I beg everybody. I literally get down on an electronic knee and beg everybody to go out there, and whatever device you're using, whether it's, again, Google Play or iTunes or Stitcher or Spotify or iHeart, or the list goes on and on, please do subscribe to the show. Please do give us a nice review. These are the things that allow us to sort of springboard to more listeners, to more people that can find the show, and it allows us to do all the fun stuff that we are doing at Hoopball. Brew, how about that insane Rate My Team thread? We did a show earlier this week with that Ali was on, just kind of talking about how he breaks a team down. He's now done 73 of those teams in that thread. 73 voices, 194 posts in that forum thread. That's great. That has to be a Hoopball record, right?
Well, it is a record, and it's that kind of Rate My Team thread has been around for years. I mean, over at Roto World there was all sorts of those, but like what he's doing is bringing a pro grade analysis to each of these teams and really leaning into it. And, we had a service that we had to shut down, and it was the pro service, and we're going to bring it back. Just the technology behind it just kind of got wonky, and we wanted to make sure that it was working well, so we pulled it. But so the idea behind that, though, is to give a professional analysis of your situation, whatever it might be. And he's out there just doing that for free. And it takes a lot of time, and it takes a lot of effort. And who knows, maybe he's undercutting us in some way. Damn you, chef.
It's a good undercut.
It's a good undercut. But no, I mean, that's the kind of stuff that's going on in these forums here. And, I'm really proud of the community that we've built. Everybody's really good. You go to these other sites and you just look at what their communities look like, and there's a lot of just yelling and screaming and unruly behavior,
or just nothing at all. That happens a lot too. I've seen a lot of sites that are really popular and there's just no community, which feels so strange to me.
Yeah, I don't know. I memean, and that's something that you and Eric Ong championed a year ago, and it's really grown. And then that's something that we really want to build here. And I could get into stuff like we have on the whiteboard where, 2-4 years down the line, there could be, hoop ball conferences in Vegas. This is stuff we've got cooking that, it's fun. It's fun. It's real fun being a part of it right now.
You tease us
where it's all going, and
you tease us, Brew. Let me ask you about the Hoop Ball 6. Let's jump into the fantasy stuff here. You mentioned the Hoop Ball 6. What is that for those folks that are listening to or that have kind of joined up the Hoop Ball ranks for the first time this year? Because this will be the second go-round of the HB6.
Yeah, the Hoop Ball 6 is sort of like the culmination of all of our research, and at the end of basically draft season, we sort of put it out as like, these are our 6 guys that we really believe in for whatever reason, and a lot of it has to do with these are the guys that are going to make you the most value or money or whatever you want to call it. And there's usually, they've got some zing factor to them. And last year, Torian Prince, Joe Ingles were shoo-ins for the Hoop Ball 6. They jumped 70, 80 shots or slots of value, and that's what we're really about. Now we're going to have some misses there. Rashawn Holmes was in it last year, and it took a lot of mismanagement and a lot of stupid people in Philly to keep him from hitting. And I'll just say that. But, I've never, I had a guy email me the other day and he's like, I finally came to hoop ball. I had to put you on notice because that whole Myers Leonard thing.
That's a long
up. People are like remembering stuff from like 5 years ago, and when I write the B150, I'd say, hey, look, there's going to be some big misses here. 2 years prior, it was Patrick Beverly. And everything goes through improvements, and systems improve, and I think we probably will decrease on big misses over time. But the upside of doing the ranks the way that I do them is we're not playing it safe. These guys that I have ranked highly that nobody else has ranked highly, you're going to know that, and you're going to make the extra effort to go get them. So you might miss on one. And, in the case of those two, Myers and Rashawn Holmes, you're spending an 11th round pick to get them. So it's not like this should end your team. But that sort of spirit is kind of inherent. It's like the B150 condensed into the Hoop Ball 6, and I can't wait to release it. I've got guys that are, right now that I've got put in ink in there, and then I probably got like 2 out of the 6 slots that I'm still wrestling with. Not sure what I want to do.
You're gonna lose sleep. You're definitely gonna lose sleep over this. Already.
I lose sleep over I'm trying to be more balanced about how much I obsess over the losses, but anybody that's been in competitive anything knows that you kind of almost don't remember the wins. You just obsess over the losses, and trying to be more balanced about that. But it's competitive. You have to get out there and be confident in what you're doing and put out something that you think is unique, different, and let's face it, like you can. What do you think? Like, what do you think is going to happen? Don't hedge against it. Like, put that down, because if that's what you really think is going to happen, why are you betting on anything else? So that's the essence of it. And I'm doing a lot of drafts, and I'm seeing a ton of value out there, and it's exciting because this year I kind of wondered a little bit about lack of player movement, making it a bit of a public market. We talked about that in the past, and we're still getting value. So that's good news.
That is good news. Want to mention to everybody, as always here, you can get all of these goodies at Hoop Ball. Go to hoop-ball.com, click on the premium tab. There is the draft guide, which will soon include the Hoop Ball 6. There's the B150. There is the season pass, which is the draft guide, and the full season premium membership. You can also just get the in-season premium membership if you're already a draft guide owner. That's available separately as well. I guess it's also available even if you're not a draft guide owner. But if you are, then you get that in-season deal at a discount. And of course, Brew, we had a coupon we gave out on this podcast 3 weeks ago to the day. It's still good, right? Isn't that Haymaker for $3 off?
Haymaker.
$3 off, whatever you want to get over at Hoop Ball. I guess if you've already used it, then go find one of the other coupon codes we have floating around. They're all over the place these days. Okay, so the Hoop Ball 6, it's coming. It's soon. The B150, it's out there. It's getting updated. There's been obviously some very large things that have taken place over the last week or so, and they're worth discussing because they're going to have an impact on all of us. Here's the breakdown of what we're going to talk about on today's podcast. Jimmy Butler, that's got to be at the forefront because now you've got this standoff taking place, or sort of not quite standoff. DeJounte Murray's ACL. We're seeing some of the buzz guys actually de-buzz themselves here late in the draft season. I think those are kind of an interesting thing to discuss. We are seeing a new ultimate buzz guy. And then draft day, man. You said you've got some big ones coming up, so I want to hear what Brew does to get himself ready on draft day. Why don't we start with DeJounte Murray, because that one is sort of the most acute of any of the things going on. Everything else has some gray area. This one doesn't. He's out. He tore an ACL. He's done. What does that mean for San Antonio? Where do you even begin? I get the feeling we're looking at a timeshare, but feel free to tell me I'm wrong.
You know what? Actually, I feel like this is where the B150 shines, is situations like these. And this is where I wish there was more stuff like this, because we get in there with a scalpel and we can really understand what's going to happen. So Derek White, first of all, he's been getting hyped up by the team before there was an injury. So this is an easy situation. I don't think they like starting Patty Mills. So White's going to get in there for about 24 to 28 minutes per game, my opinion. And that's an initial projection. So we don't really know who knows? Maybe he gets in there and struggles a little bit and, people start tapping the brakes and that number comes down a little bit, or he really shows great command of the offense and they say, hey, we got holes elsewhere. Let's slide everybody down a bit. We'll play a little bit small. And the good news with White is he's 6'4". He has actually really impressive block numbers for a guard. And he is, somebody that they might say, hey, we can slide everybody down a bit. So maybe his numbers could even go up. I doubt it. I think it's going to be 24 to 28. And if you are looking at the draft guide, you can know exactly where you should draft him, based on value. But that team now just took a pretty mortal wound. It could impact, guys at the end of the season, assuming they don't do the Spurs thing and just keep winning anyway. So you're looking at guys like LaMarcus Aldridge. He could theoretically, if they're out of it, peter out at the end of the year. Rudy Gay, I think, was a guy that's going to get a bump up because of this. Now, all these Spurs scorers are sort of getting called to action here. Rudy looked pretty good in the action I've seen him in. He's not going to be old Rudy by any stretch, but his minutes were limited last year. You're seeing Wes Matthews, handle minutes after an Achilles injury. And actually, Wes Matthews looks a little bit quicker this year than I thought he looked last year. So it's sort of a footnote. So that would put Rudy Gay's, if he has a kind of a recovery that's similar, maybe that would happen next year. But I think he's going to be up there in the high 20s this year. I think they're going to ask him to score more. Same with LaMarcus Aldridge. He'll need to score a tiny bit more now. But that middle of the rotation, DeMar DeRozan, there's a thing I did last year researching the Spurs that is just kind of one of those unique tributaries. Is that the right word? Tributaries that you go down and you find yourself studying what is the most minutes that Greg Popovich has ever given a guy. And literally I think there's nobody but maybe one player that went over 33.
That doesn't seem particularly high.
No, and DeMar DeRozan's a guy that can handle a big workload, and so I bumped him up a little bit. I thought that, hey, this is a situation where you really got to get good minutes out of somebody, and he's in his prime, and hey, knock yourself out, kid. So those are the kinds of things that we're thinking about there. Patty Mills will get extra run, but he's kind of got a ceiling. We know what he is. Though any of Marco Bellinelli, everybody don't worry, you'll get your Marco Bellinelli pump fake, and then God knows what after that. But no real fantasy love for any of those guys. And Jacob Poeltl, unfortunately, is a guy that's a sleeper on a lot of lists, and he's got a good stat set except for the free throws up and down preseason. But he's really mobile guy, really versatile guy. You could see him flourishing in the Spurs system. Unfortunately, there's no real room for him to expand his minutes as a result of this injury. But that's your Spurs breakdown in under, say, 4.5 minutes.
Something like that. Yeah, I mean, does it feel like this is sort of the angle I was coming at it from? They're going to need somebody now to take on a little bit more of that facilitator role. You mentioned DeMar DeRozan is playing a little bit more. Does Old Man Powell get more of a look as kind of a high post pass situation?
He wants it, and I'll say that he looks okay. He looks pretty damn good, especially, and I think he could play till like 42 years old, and I think he might actually do that. Powell's an interesting cat. He's got off the court interests. He's a very well studied guy. He likes music, art, and but he still loves basketball, and he keeps coming back and sort of proving everybody wrong. He was really a unique fantasy asset last year, getting. They play 82 games, like just 22 minutes per game, I think, and just sort of like bulldozing his way to good late round value. And it's really hard to expect an old guy like that to have that type of durability. But if you're only playing 20 minutes a game, you really do, he's not overexerting himself. The risk has been decreased. It could be the case that they see that strategy is a smart one and they just sort of keep it up. And also because of the presence of Pirtle and Aldridge, you have able bodies, and those three guys can't play together that much. Like they're just too tall, too rigid, not enough mobility in today's NBA. So I don't think he gets a bump up.
Fair enough. All right, we can move along to the next one, and that's Jimmy Butler, who, just for the record here, we're recording this not long after word came out that Jimmy Butler did participate in a Wolves practice. And we know, I think the information is out there where a holdout is a terrible idea for Butler financially. So are we looking at a situation where a guy who has openly demanded a trade might be forced to just get out on the court for a couple minutes a night? I mean, we're looking down the barrel of something pretty weird here.
I don't buy this. I read somewhere that this is going to drag out to the trade deadline, and that's just not likely. This is two teams, one with a history in the Heat, that they just sort of get it done. Like, Pat Riley has ultimate control in that franchise. The owner stays out of his way. Coach and him are sort of on the same page. They have excess assets that they need to get rid of. And at the same time, the Wolves are a total blank show. They don't have a big market for Jimmy Butler because Jimmy Butler wants to get paid big money come free agency. And with his knee, I think there's a big market of teams that want to pay him big money. Now, would they want Jimmy Butler on their team this year? Absolutely. And I think the dark horse in this one is the Rockets. And if they can get competitive somehow with this, then maybe you start to see the Wolves get a price point that makes them more compelled to move. The problem is the Wolves are screwed, and they're saying, well, it's better to see this out even further, into the preseason. Maybe scratch and knock on the door of some regular season games and see if somebody buckles. But ultimately, they're going to look really bad. They're going to have, Miami is going to look really bad. Miami's going to say, hey, you're messing with our team chemistry here. We got like 4 guys that think they're getting traded. We're not playing this season like that. And so if you want something, the offer's on the table now, but it's not on the table tomorrow. And I think that reality will all culminate in either the Wolves accepting, if they're passing on this, they're kind of crazy. They need to take Josh Richardson back. He's got a great contract. He would fill the gap, created by Jimmy Butler's absence. It would take the biggest minute guy that Miami has at Jimmy Butler's position and pull him off the table, because they're going to have a hard time implementing Jimmy Butler in an offense that has a lot of guys that need to have the ball in their hand in order to be effective. So, I think the Heat look at that and say, not only are we giving up assets and we got to re-sign this guy, which we're fine with, in future years as they get rid of some of these guys that they don't need, but it's really jacking us up this season in terms of chemistry. So that's where I think their offers are coming in tepid. The Rockets really need Jimmy Butler. And I think the problem is they need a team to facilitate, and that team would be the Kings. And the Kings, so you have the Wolves, where you have complete chaos. You have probably Tibbs out there doing a little bit of recruiting on these offers. You got Layden out there doing his best. Both those guys don't want to get rid of Butler. And you got the owner who's like, get rid of him now. And nobody knows who to talk to. Bring the Kings into that. Oh, boy. So that's why the Rockets can't really, I don't think, get any traction on this thing. But they're the only team I see that's got both the motive and the sort of kind of ownership and GM structure to get aggressive about it. And then also an asset to, like a player perhaps that could come back to Minnesota and make that somewhat worth their while. And I don't even know if the player in the Rockets equation would be, it would probably be a pick. But the window for the Rockets is getting a little you got Chris Paul who's going to, be long on the tooth here pretty soon. So it's a messed up situation.
Yes,
fantasy wise, fantasy owners. Like,
yeah. Let's turn the
Jimmy Butler just went like 30th in 30 deep.
Yeah, 34.
34. So like I had him, I think at 20 or something. I had to pick between Butler and I ultimately went with Middleton. But I was thinking about Butler at 20 because, he's basically like a 12th ranked guy when he's healthy and happy. So I ultimately passed on him because I think, and in the update for the Bruski 150, we'll probably have Butler where he would be if he's with Miami. And he's going to see some decreases in touches. He's going into an organization that's not player-centric. Like, basically, LeBron James went to Miami, and Pat Riley, I'm sure, told him, hey, this is how we work. And if you could fit into this, you could play here. So that gives you a little bit of idea of what he'll say to Jimmy Butler. So I think Butler won't come in and demand a whole lot of touches. I think his numbers will be similar, but probably incrementally smaller in a number of key categories. And so I think you got to rate him as more of a top 25 pick. And if he stays in Minnesota for any reason, whatever, which I don't think is going to happen, then, he would be higher than that. But he would be a top 25 pick in Miami. And if he was with the Rockets, he would jump back up into that top 15 range.
Is he a guy that you're avoiding in any particular format? Because for me, this whole thing just screams of, like a weird, awful, slow start to the year. I've been always afraid of the injury stuff, which may be a Thibodeau thing. So maybe if he gets moved, he could actually be a stronger play just based on games played. How do you balance that when you try to figure this thing out?
Honestly, when I see these situations, I start thinking value, and my hope is that he falls where he fell in 30 deep. Because in the third round, you're talking about first round upside. And this is the kind of same thing that got me in trouble with Kawhi Leonard. Whatever, like
fool me once.
It's I don't know. It depends on the league. Like, when I'm playing in the FBA, which will draft Friday night, which is probably the toughest fantasy league on planet Earth, you got to look for an edge like that. And a lot of it comes down to when you're drafting. When I get these, the league on Friday is an auction league, but when I'm drafting, somebody's like, hey, you got the 12 slot. And it's like, oh, sweet. Not only am I getting screwed, there's no third round reversal. And then you think, okay, I got to take a few chances here because the way this is set up is adding like 50% more difficulty. So you might take a chance on a guy based on your, situation. But looking at objectively, his knee is probably okay right now. It's the question of durability down the road. His hand is okay, probably, I would say. So the injury concerns are kind of similar to any other player that's had issues in the past. And then you factor in the drama potential. I don't think he's going to miss games, and I don't see him playing like, I think you said, like get out on the court and play 5 minutes so you don't get penalized, in your contract for, conduct detrimental to the team or whatever. I don't see that. I think if he isn't traded, he will play his 39 minutes that Tibbs wants him to play. And then when he gets traded, he will go play his 33 minutes that respectable coaches deploy players for.
That anyone in a head-to-head league would want him to play.
And you know what? There is a little erosion there for value if he's going to play a little bit less minutes, but he would probably make it up in durability and efficiency. So I think that, to kind of put a bow on it, start looking at him in the third round. If you're feeling, aggressive for whatever reason, you could get go late second. I wouldn't take him at the top of the second just based on, all of the aforementioned things. But late second, early third, yeah, you could look at him.
When are you not feeling aggressive? No, that's not a real question. We can leave that off of today's podcast. You are, Brew, you are the captain.
When am I not feeling aggressive? When I'm meditating, dog.
Oh, okay. So those 25 minutes in the evening, definitely not in fantasy stuff. All right, here's the guy I think we've seen. You know what? Let's go a different direction here. I want to talk about reverse buzz guys. Reverse buzz, where we have actually seen a buzz arc occur during the run-up to fantasy drafts. I don't know that I can remember it being
every year, by the way.
Yeah,
every year.
I don't notice them maybe as crisply before as I do now. Now that I'm sort of, you do a daily podcast, you sort of have to be aware of everything that's buzzing on Twitter. And now it's like, oh, this guy's now, like, for in the month of August, we got all these. I'm going to just say the names here because we've talked about them actually on this show before. You and me is Kyle Anderson and Jared Allen are two names that we covered 3 weeks ago as guys that I said, hey, these guys are getting a lot of buzz. They're going really early in fantasy drafts. And since then, I've had a lot of questions from people on Twitter, in the forums, that's just like, hey, are you worried about these two guys? So it's gone one way, and now the needle has bounced back the other. What does that mean from a big picture standpoint? Forget about those two names that I just mentioned, Brew, and then let's talk about those two guys as examples of, we've seen now the hype, we've seen less hype. Where does this all fall? How do you follow this trend?
You just got to be in tune with why, I think. Like, I think the biggest thing that's gotten sites into trouble in the past is like declaring their values in June or July or after Summer League. Like Trey Lyles, for instance, was somebody that anybody that read a big site picked in the late rounds, and they were fighting each other for him. This was a couple years ago. And
Utah Trey Lyles.
What's that?
Utah Trey Lyles.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, exactly. And so, like, can the site or the predictor or the reason the buzz is occurring, can they get off of predictions that they make? And this is why I'm not a big fan of throwing that prediction out there, that early, unless I really believe in it, of course. But, like, I just think that there's no need, it's June, it's July, it's Summer League. Some of that stuff's not going to matter. And so you kind of got to know how these things originate and sort of why these, I think a good example of it's John Collins. Like, almost immediately in the summer, he got just blown up. And I happen to believe in John Collins. I'm watching his ankle injury because I remember last year when he sprained it, it was really bad. I think they're just being precautionary about it. But he's that guy that, it's like the hype has raged so hot, and then all of a sudden something bad happens, whether it's like a absence or, a bad game, or somebody didn't get the minutes that everybody thought they were going to get, and everybody sort of slows down. And you see a real rebound effect for it in ADP. Like, I think Kyle Anderson's the guy where I've seen him just fall.
Yeah, like a stone.
And I'm sitting there going, I love it. keep
so this
falling,
is,
man, because...
So you see this as a good thing then?
Absolutely. There's been a number of those examples, that there were people who have been tapping the brakes. There's an HB6 guy who had a tappy tap. And
Thank you for that Happy Gilmore reference. By the way, shout out to my late cousin Francis Bay, who played the grandma in that movie.
Who I love, by the way. Like, honestly, like, I love my grandmas, but I would have had a third grandma. It would have been her. And I thought you missed an opportunity to break into some a cappella Boys to Men with On Bended Knee earlier, Dan.
Oh, well,
these are 90s references for the old folks out there.
I do better with falsetto. I think is more that's my range, where you're singing so terribly that you can sort of make fun of yourself. That's really more my cup of tea. Okay, so then let's get into the specifics on these guys. I've seen some Jared Allen debuzzing. I've seen some Kyle Anderson debuzzing. You mentioned John Collins, although he hasn't debuzzed quite like the other guys have, at least from
Jared
what I'm watching.
Allen, though, it was funny because Jared Allen had been debuzzing, right, for all of preseason. You saw low numbers, low minute counts, and then he goes off for 4 blocks the other night, and it's like a match. Like
a rebuzzing.
Yeah, it's just like bam, we're gonna light that thing again, and we're right back in it. So things can change. You gotta really just sort of, here's another guy, Jaren Jackson, hasn't been blocking shots. The man with the 14.6% block rate isn't blocking shots. And so he's fallen a little bit in drafts.
Well, life gets harder when you play against dudes that have been in the NBA for 6 to 10 years instead of guys that have never played an NBA game.
Also, you really got to watch the game itself, and it's impossible because League Pass doesn't really work. You don't know the tenor of the game. Like, if there are a number of starters not playing in a game and it turns into junk ball, well, hell, I forget who had like some ridiculous amounts of steals and blocks the other day, and it was not a steals and blocks guy. And you just know, you know who it was? It was Doncic. And I want to talk about Doncic because he's a buzzy guy. Doncic had like 2 steals, 3 blocks, or something like that. Or maybe I get the numbers backwards. Or I think it was 2 and 2. And I watched the game because I'm trying to figure out how he's going to be deployed. And it was this junky, like, the guy should have never even thought about taking the shot. And he did anyway. And, I think I watched Juancho Hernan Gomez last night, like, literally just like a bull in a china shop, take it like a fullback, to the rim. And then, like, after he sort of shook everybody off after 2 steps, like, then flipped up this feeble looking shot and it got slammed. And I was just like, that's never going to happen in an NBA game. And so you just got to watch out for attaching yourself to numbers in the preseason. None of these numbers matter.
Okay, so then how much does a guy have to de-buzz before you're into him again? That's a hard question. I know it's sort of a scale.
I think it's just ADP. Like, it's really like, I play in these kind of ringer leagues where 8 to 9 of them are known B150 subscribers, and I can't get a value to save my feels like. But then there'll be like 4 guys in those drafts that don't subscribe, and they're taking a guy like, Blake Griffin or so there's like, it's like pockets of value. It depends on where I'm at in those drafts. And then you get into intermediate leagues and you can see these guys fall, precipitously. And it's literally about picking a team where you're balanced and really picking your roster almost before you draft and deciding, okay, I know I'm getting these guys in 13th, 14th, 15th round. Like, they are there every single time. I'm choosing between them. And so then you try to figure out, okay, well, what complements these guys that I know I'm getting? And so it's kind of like that Matt Damon thing in Rounders, where it's like, I don't even need to see the cards. I just need to know where I'm drafting. And so you got to look at ADP and try to figure out where these guys are falling. And I am noticing that, Collins is falling a little bit. Other buzzy guys like Jaren Jackson, he's falling a little bit. I don't know who else.
Well,
I just saw a rookie's name. I saw DeAndre Ayton's name. I don't know that he's falling.
No,
he's rising.
Yeah, he's actually the guy. He's the next thing we're going to talk about on today's show, by the way.
Yeah. So, and another great example of watching preseason for the right reasons, like, he's put up all these big numbers. That's why he's rising. What I see in Ayton is a guy that does enough things competently where there's no reason to take him off the floor if you're Phoenix. And he's going to just gobble up easy opportunities. And so you need to block a lot of shots. He doesn't even need to steal that much. He just needs to go out there and beat DeAndre Ayton and not step on anybody's foot. And he's going to be just fine. So, it just got to go with the ADP, see who the risers and fallers are, and, plunder.
Is that ADP stuff? Is that in the draft guide these days?
Well, yeah. So we have Eric Ong doing ADP reports. He's a beast. Like, I've worked with Eric, in various capacities over the years, and he's as in tune with everything that's going on as anybody that's out there. So he's breaking down ADPs in specific articles for the draft guide. The draft guide of the B150 does also include the most recent ADPs. It's a little bit weird. Like, the big providers their data is not good. So we've been throwing out bad data and trying to get real data for ADPs. But you could see next to like the B150 ranks, you could see the ADPs, you could see the difference. You could even sort on it. Might be a helpful thing to do if you were prognosticating certain things, like the HB6.
Interesting. So people might be able to figure some of these things out. I catch what you're saying. Okay, let me talk. Let's talk DeAndre Ayton, because you just mentioned things that you're seeing. He's a guy to me that feels like where all of these other buzz guys have been largely de-buzzed. The Jared Allens we just mentioned, the Kyle Andersons, the Jaren Jacksons, the John Collinses, the Luka Doncic's, the list goes on and on. It seems like the one of the buzz guys that hasn't been de-buzzed is DeAndre Ayton. Are we starting now, Brew, to get close to a point where he is no longer worth I know you like to use the girl next door reference, so is he no longer worth the squeeze?
That's a great movie, Dan.
I know you love that movie. I know you, Brew.
Great, terrible movie that as I watch it over time, it really ages poorly. But let's roll with it. That's, actually, he says that in that movie. He breaks his speech, tears his speech cards in half, and he throws them in the air. And
so like, compelling. That's so compelling. You got to love it when somebody tears their speech cards in half. That's when you know things are about to get real compelling.
When somebody like a best man does it at a wedding, it's going to just go to hell.
Oh, yeah. Real life is very different than movies. Very different with regards to speech tearing up.
Ayton is going to... I really think he has a shot at outperforming his ADP. Now, so I went and I redid the numbers, and so for this next update, he'll probably be a little bit higher than he is right now. The fact is we just don't know. Like, let's say Phoenix, classic Suns, by the way, firing their GM just a few days ago.
Oh,
and
amazing! Literally
half the organization. Because Sarver is nuts. If you want to know why so many stupid things have happened in Phoenix, look no further than the owner, and then the GM didn't help himself out at any point in time. But let's say they get rid of some of the gunk, that they got everywhere. I was watching them play. I've been watching them play a lot in the preseason. They actually have the makings of a decent team. Like the front court rotation with Ryan Anderson and Rashawn Holmes. Those three can really bring a lot of different dynamics. You got the shooting dynamic. Ryan Anderson has been so maligned for his contract, his injury history, his inability to play defense, all that stuff over the years, that he's actually undervalued now. And he has, I think in Houston, playing with the sort of pace and space system and, playing with those elite players and realizing, look, I got to stay on the floor. I got to play defense. He has improved his defense. He's improved his quickness, and he's improved his skill level. And you're gonna watch him actually. A lot of people, Ryan Anderson starting. And I was one of them. Because classic Suns, of course. You got a guy in Rashawn Holmes that needs minutes, deserves minutes, and is probably going to be messed around with because of Tyson Chandler, who, if I had to take a wild guess, is Robert Sarver's favorite player. Those three. Those four, I guess, they actually form a decent squad. You got all those wings there. I mean, if they could trade a guy like Josh Jackson or rein him in and really just and a guy like Ayton could be the centerpiece of that. So you could see him take more shots. You could see him make more shots, be in better position for better shots. You could see efficiency that, ticks up a couple percentage points, and really just sort of like a perfect picture for Ayton. Like he could threaten, if he plays all 82 games or plays 78 games. I know we could say that for every player, but like he could, threaten the top 25 with this whole thing.
Interesting.
So, I mean, I don't have him that high because that's like, that's his peak. But it's possible for a guy like that. So I think that the juice is worth the squeeze right now. I've been seeing him go early.
He's like
early third in certain cases.
Yeah, I was going to say mid-30s is what I'm seeing right now, which is up because, 2 weeks ago he was mid-40s.
I took him on the turn in a hoop ball league. We got our hoop ball leagues. I took him on the turn in the third round because I just was like, I was looking at the available players after that, and I was like, you know what? Screw it. I'm just going to try this out and see if it works. So it's doable. I'm not advising that. Hopefully you can get him in the late third. Hell, hopefully you can get him in the fourth.
All right, then. I've got a little game for you, Brew, and then we're going to get into the last topic of the day. The game is the juice worth the squeeze? And if that, I kind of want to title the podcast that, but I think it's going to be way too weird and people won't know what they're about to listen to. So DeAndre Ayton is a yes.
I love when 12-year-old Dan shows up.
What do you mean when he shows up? You should be weirded out when he goes away.
You said it, not me.
Okay, so we're gonna play "Is the Juice Worth the Squeeze" on all the.
You probably got a great great laugh out of that hurricane image the other day.
Was that another one of them?
Or the Dwight Howard butt injury?
Definitely laughed at Dwight Howard's hurt butt. I'm continuing to laugh at Dwight Howard's hurt butt. I talked to other Laker fans, and all they want to do is laugh at Dwight Howard's hurt butt. I also wanted to say hurt butt 4 times on a podcast.
Oh, he's certainly the butt of jokes.
Yes, this is gold, Jerry. I want to be Banya here. This is gold. Okay, so Ayton is a yes. Let me just rapid fire these other guys. You give me a yes or a no on current ADPs, basically. Jared Allen, is his ADP in a spot now? Is the juice worth the squeeze as of this moment?
Let's assume all of these are like intermediate to expert leagues.
Yes.
No.
John Collins.
Yes.
Kyle Anderson.
Yes.
Luka Doncic.
No, and I actually upgraded my expectation for him. He looked a lot better in the second and third games. Still, we got stat set issues there. Jaren
Jackson Jr.
Yes.
And I think those were basically the guys that we had talked about on this pod, right? Did I forget anybody from earlier? I don't think so. I think that was it.
We talked about a lot of things on this pod, Dan.
I know. I should write things down more often, but I like to cross things off the list after we talk about them. And, in the modern age, crossing off a list is deleting it from a notepad document. No, that's not the modern age. That's my modern age. Everybody buzz off. Last thing we're talking about on today's show is draft day. It's coming. Most of us have them either going right now. Brew, you said you've got your big ones this weekend. I also have my important drafts this weekend. For me, and I'll just throw my thing out there, I like to have my laptop next to my desktop, 2 screens. I need 2 screens. I don't want to be switching back and forth on one computer, and a piece of paper with a pen where I write down the names of guys and where I want to take them, and I cross them off. Yes, with an actual pen, I cross them off the list. Brew, what is your draft moment strategy? How do you do it? Do you get in a special Zen place? Do you play like low humming noises in the background to really focus your energy? What's Brew on draft day?
Why are you making fun of me, Dan? why you got to do that?
What's your draft day, man? What do you do?
Okay, I did all those things that you made fun of just now, or I do those things. No, I've been practicing meditation for about a year and a half, 2 years now. It's like the secret advantage, man. It's not a secret now, so you guys can get out there and take a look at it. It quiets the mind, and you need to have that in a situation like auction drafts where it's just like 4 hours of intense craziness and every pick sort of matters unless you buy early and then you're like, oh, this draft sucks for 3 hours. But no, it's about like getting the mindset right. It's probably about 2 hours before the draft. I do some final news checks, want to make sure my numbers are all tight. And then, so the next 2 hours, it's about getting everything nice and clean. You want that work area, really dialed in. I usually have positions sort of, and it's a lot of position stuff is really league specific. And if you have a format where positions don't come into play, you're really looking at stat sets. But I have positions, about 5 lists, one for each position or stat set build. And then, like you, I will cross players off, one at a time. And then it's really about getting in the right mindset for the draft because, man, face it, especially if you're on a clock of any, if it's a short clock, 60-second clock, you don't have time to mess around. The process in between picks for me is really sort of like I've been doing it for years, so I know it takes a certain amount of time to update my technology, and it takes a certain amount of time to update the paper. And where the paper comes in is important. You don't want to rely on technology for anything. So you could have a computer glitch. You could have your computer slows down. You could have something just weird happens that you have to have that paper backup. So in between picks, and a lot of this also comes down to where you draft. If you're on the turns, you got a completely different experience than if you're in the middle of a draft. So paper, being intentional in between all of these picks and reducing all of the background noise is tough when that clock is going. So you really got to be diligent about setting up your cues while the draft is going on, dependent upon kind of like what I said about where you're at. If you're in the middles of drafts, you're kind of in the middle of the action all the time, so you might not have as much preparatory work, but you just do not want to have the clock hit 30 and you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah, then panic sets in at that point.
And if you do get to 30, what you have to really kind of do is, I draw upon some of my sports background when it's like chaotic. You just sort of have to tunnel vision your way through it. Like, you really got to just like almost not think about the clock. You know it's going to hit. You know it's there, but you're sort of just cycling through. I know I'm going to be able to think about 5 things here. Let's work the problem. We'll go with a second Matt Damon reference. Let's pretend like we're stuck on Mars. Let's just work the issue.
I was really hoping you were going to end up at Team America Matt Damon in that moment, but okay, we can go with Mars.
Hey, I shouted Matt Damon in a theater once because there was like a preview for a bad Matt Damon movie.
I bet the fans like that, right?
Oh, that was, I think I had like one other joke in a movie that, got the crowd to really laugh. But that one was like one of my crowning achievements.
I bet it was. I would have laughed because it's not during the actual movie. You didn't disrupt anybody's experience. That's the perfect time.
It was the cheesy movie. And like, you know how it was bad? You get a bad preview and everybody gets like whispering, oh, that was a really crappy preview.
Oh, of course.
Happened at that moment. Perfect timing. You know what? Standing O is what happened.
That's
in the
right.
Theater for,
Let the
for
legend,
my Matt Damon joke.
Let the legend spread of Bruce, of your power. What comes before you in the theater? They bowed. They applauded. They lauded you with praise. All right. That's draft day. It's coming up. Next time you and I talk, the NBA season's going to be happening. Can you believe it? We're close.
Yeah, in-season premium sneaks up on us, and so we got to decide on the time for our. I think it's probably going to be Tuesday for our first weekly lineup show.
Yeah, that would make sense.
As we do business stuff on the air.
Yeah, this is this. By the way, this is going on the podcast. This is Dan and Brew figuring out exactly when we're going to be doing things for real.
We don't get to talk. We text.
That's right. We text. Things happen a lot faster when they're on the podcast. But you guys don't care about that. Once again, everybody, thank you so much for all of the insane listenership we've had here leading up to the start of the season. I hope most of you will stick around as we get rolling. We're going to have a lot of guests on the show this year. We're going to continue to look at all the stories, the pickups, the drops, all that stuff. It's going to be continuing throughout the NBA season. Aaron Bruski,
listen to Adrian and Neil.
Yes.
Adrian and Neil, the box score breakdown's back.
It's back, baby. Revived. They CPR'd that joint. It's back. They got the defibrillator out. I wanted to slow down, make sure I said that word right. The box score breakdown is back. You can get that at Hoopball and anywhere podcasts are listed. Adrian and Neil are putting that bad boy out. Go back and listen to yesterday's show. That'll be me and Neil. That's the Thursday edition of Fantasy NBA Today. We talked about that podcast as well on that one. Use Haymaker, the code. Go get your in-season premium membership these days, or you can still go get the draft guide if you want. If your draft hasn't happened yet, there's no reason not to. Aaron Bruski, good luck on your giant drafts this weekend. The amount of money that's on the line in those makes my whole body quiver in fear.
Yeah, it's something like $50,000.
That's out of control. That's so crazy for a fantasy league. So good luck. Enjoy the oming, the low hums, all of that stuff. Whatever gets you in the right place. And I'll talk to you in a couple of days.
Haymakers.
Just one. Just haymaker, I think, right? Singular?
Nah, multiple.
Oh, does haymakers also work as a coupon code?
Oh, no. The coupon code is singular. There's only one haymaker for your coupon code. But I'll be throwing multiple, Dan.
I think if people start typing in haymakers, there should be like an Easter egg that pops up on Hoopball that's like, this wasn't a coupon code, but thanks for listening to the podcast. He is Aaron Bruski. I am Dan Besbris. This is Fantasy NBA Today. Have a wonderful weekend, everybody. Good luck on your drafts. We'll talk to you Monday.
This has been a Hoop Ball presentation.